7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
International superstar, Miss Claudia
You are now tuned in to Butter Be Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am your girl, Butterby Rocker. Listen, it's been a long time. It's been like a month since I've seen you guys. I have been busy. I know I just released my new album, Thankful. If you haven't listened to it, and make sure that you do. Make sure that you download. You can go to my website or you can go on all streaming platforms. It's called Thankful. It is my debut contemporary gospel album, which I'm super excited about. A lot of things are happening right now. We will be announcing probably tomorrow or by Monday our next BBR that is going to be in October, and we're going to make it a spooky event. So stay tuned to that. But without further ado, she is an entrepreneur. She is an author, and she is a multimedia host. Can you please give some love for Claudia Massey?
Hello, beautiful.
How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
I am doing good. It's always great to see you.
Yes, it's so good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to talk to you. So one of the things that we like to do here at Transparency Talks Podcast is dive right on in. Can you tell everybody a little bit about your background?
Yes, a little bit about my background. Well, look, I'm a country girl. That's number one. I live in Richmond, Virginia. I'm currently, I think for the last 18 years, but I am from a little city called Council in North Carolina. And I mean so small, it doesn't even have a stoplight.
Oh.
I have 8 beautiful children. We are a beautiful blended family. My husband, he had children before we married, and I had some, and then we adopted some. So, you can tell we love children. I'm an entrepreneur, like you said, on my own business. Founded Patients for Patients Home Care Agency right here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm a television and a radio host, and I love to do it because I love to meet people. I love to hear their stories. And I love promoting people. That's just a little bit about me. I don't know how much you want me to go into, but that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, you're also an author, so I guess we can start with that. What is your book?
Yes. Well, I have 9 books. I'm a 9-time #1 best-selling author. Praise God. My main book, and I say my main book, and it was my first book, it's called Reclaiming My Life. And I have to talk about Reclaiming My Life because that's the name of my radio show and my television show. And Reclaiming My Life, it came about because one day I was just looking over my life. Sometimes, we don't want to look back, but it's important to look back to see what God has done in your life, Mm-hmm. And I thought about, God, I have been sexually violated by an uncle. I have been wrongfully evicted. I really went through a time in my life where I was truly depressed from the loss of my mom. I had experienced domestic violence. And then I just, looked around at where I am today and all that God has brought me through. And I was like, wow, I have truly reclaimed my life. So that's how Reclaiming My Life came about. And, God told me, it's not going to stop with the book. And that's how the radio and the television show came about because, I was bold enough to share those things that I just mentioned. And, it's important to share because so many people are going through some of the same things you're going through. But we don't want to talk about it because we are ashamed or, we feel like we're going to be judged or criticized. But when we do share, it gives, your neighbor, and let me tell you, the world is your neighbor. So it gives your neighbor hope that they too can get through and reclaim their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Being able to reclaim your life and tell what you've been going through, because you're right. People will hold it in and think that no one else, they're the only people that's going through something. And when you shed light to whatever the situation is, you will come to find out that someone else has experienced that, and being able to hear their stories and see that someone else was able to make it through definitely gives you the hope and encouragement to keep pushing through. So kudos for you.
Come on.
So, right. So, okay. You not only did you make all of these books, but you decided to turn it into both radio and you turned to television. Which came first and how did you get started?
Yes, but I'm gonna have to ask, and the documentary.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I didn't
Yes,
know that.
yes, Reclaiming My Life, the Claudia Massey story. Yes, ma'am. But radio came first, and I'm gonna tell you how it came about. So in 2022, that's when the book was launched. And I was promoting also a concert at the time because I'm a gospel promoter. And I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this concert in April, and I'm also have my book launch in April. So I'm trying to promote both on radio, reaching out to radio hosts and all. And I became really close with the radio host here in Richmond, Randy Johnson, on 93.7 FM. And he said, you know what? You have so much. Like, you will make a great radio host. And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm not one to really, talk in front of people or, I can't see myself on the radio and so forth. And he said, why don't you do a show, Reclaiming My Life show? And that, I'm like, I'm interested in that because anything that we're passionate about,
right.
We're able to do it. We're able to talk about it. And I found myself in a very comfortable space because, I'm so passionate about, getting the word out there, and giving people hope. So it came really easy. And then to interview people and to hear their testimonies of how they overcame, it gave me so much joy. And shortly after, and I do mean shortly after the radio, probably 2 or 3 months, a pastor here in Richmond said, you know what, come be on my television show. And I said, well, where is it? And he said, in Atlanta, Georgia. And I said, I would love to. So I went to Atlanta and I was on his show. And then the founders of the network said, you need your own show. Because I did 2 interviews with him that day, back to back. And I think just flowing, they said, you need your own show. And I'm like, okay, God, what is this? So let me tell you, when God give you something, like being the visionary of the book, Reclaiming My Life, and that vision, God gave it to me. And I said, okay, God, you know what? Anything that's going to glorify you, because, I got out of the habit of saying no. You know what I'm saying? Anything positive, anything that's going to make God shine, anything good. Come on now. I'm going to say yes. It's a yes for me. So that's how the television show, everything was sort of like right there together. The book, the radio, the TV, all within months, from one another.
Wow. That's an amazing story. That's definitely an amazing story. And it is a testament to how, God opens doors.
Yes.
Yes. For sure. It's the same thing like with me when I injured myself and had my knee surgery. I'm sitting there trying to figure out what I'm going to do and had no idea that I was going to get into film and get into becoming a best-selling author. All these things took place because I sat down and then had to focus and had to shift, so it's amazing that you were able to tie all of that stuff in. And I definitely did not know about this documentary.
Look, you can find it on YouTube, on my YouTube page, Coach Claudia Massey. And that's one of the main things my focus is right now, because I'm always promoting other people. I really just want to get out and travel and promote my documentary. So I have been doing that some, but, I need to promote that more.
Do you have plans on putting it on outside of YouTube? Do you have plans on pitching it to festivals and or putting it on streaming platforms?
Well, you know what? I'm talking to the right person who can assist me with that.
You are. Definitely. And I happen to know a couple of stations, you know. So yeah.
Look, like I said, I'm in good hands. So yes, we'll definitely talk.
Wonderful. And you also quickly said about you being a gospel promoter, and I just released my gospel album, so we definitely gonna be talking and connecting.
Yes, absolutely. Because look, you are amazing.
Thank you.
I listen to your music and I love it so much because it gives you that good feeling of gospel, and it helps you connect with God. But you also got that, the rock. It's Butterbeat Rocker, right? You got to put that rock in it, baby.
Right.
I love it. I would tell my husband, baby, we can sit beside a fireplace with her music. We can be at dinner with her music.
That's dope.
In a car with praise, just praising by yourself.
Yeah.
Girl, you it.
Thank you. That's dope.
Yeah.
So what has been your biggest difference between hosting a radio show and a talk show?
I'm going to have to say, and actually the CEO and founder of the television network asked me, which one do I like best?
That was going to be my next question.
I'm sorry?
I said that was going to be my follow-up question.
I had to honestly tell her radio.
Okay.
Yes, because I think with radio it's a little more personal, it's a little more intimate, put it that way, a little more intimate when I'm sitting there, and although we're not physically beside one another, for some reason I feel like I connect with them more. And because I love gospel music so much, I'm so passionate about gospel music, I interview a lot of gospel artists on radio. Yeah, so I love that.
But, I am surprised that you said that, because I would think because you like to connect with people with your talk show, that's face to face. But I guess those subjects are different subjects.
Yes.
And some of the subjects can be a little heavier. So whereas on the radio, you're doing more with gospel artists in interviews, which, uplifts and touches the soul more. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And too, but a lot of the artists who come on radio, they're celebrities, right? And I love when celebrities share a trial or a trauma that they experience, because people, they look at celebrities like, I want to be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they don't have any troubles, So it's very important that, they see, oh, wow, they really went through that, or they had to do all of this and all of that to get where they are, So that's what I love, too, that they're willing to come on, talk about those challenges and or trauma they experienced. Like Zacardi Cortez, he talked about how he had been in jail. How people look at is that voice, oh, he can sing and what he doing and this and that. But baby, he tells that testimony, what I'm saying? And I love that.
Yeah. That's one of the things when I started Transparency Talks podcast, because I am in the industry and have worked and toured and done all of these things with so many big people, I can ask questions because you're right. People think that celebrities and big people, because you see them on TV, because you see they got a Grammy, or because you see them doing something, they assume that they don't go through things, that they didn't have it hard, that they just was a one night, all of a sudden their just career just blew up. And it's like, no, people to this day are still struggling, and it's just a different type of struggle. And it did take some time to get there. So yeah. So what has been the most challenging part of your career, and how did you overcome it?
Wow. So is this media or as a business owner?
It can be in general as a business owner.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take it back to my home care agency, starting a business from the ground up. You know what I mean? Can be very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the most challenging thing is when you're dealing with a home care agency and you're hiring people, you're dependent on people. As the business owner, you are dependent on people,
Right.
to show up for work. You know what I'm saying? And if
Right.
they don't show up, then the business isn't successful.
Mm-hmm.
So the early part of the business, a lot of times, when people will call out, and I'm up at, trust me, I mean, like, when was I sleeping? Because
Right.
it's a 24-hour home care agency. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking at the phone. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking at the phone, make sure I don't have any call outs.
Mm-hmm.
Very challenging. And at times, when there were call outs, because I was a home health aide for 10 plus years, it was
Right.
for me to get up and put my uniform on and go
Right.
do the job. So, but I would have to say, that was the most challenging because, it was 2 to 3 years before I really started seeing money.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time to build a business, especially from the ground up in that kind of business.
Repeat how long it took you to build that your business up again. 3 to how many years?
Yes, at least 2 to 3 before
Right.
because when you start a business and you have employees, everybody is getting paid but you.
Yep.
And that's the sacrifice,
Yep.
because you got to put the work in to be able to get something out. But trust me, if you're passionate about it, anything I do now, I'm gonna have to be passionate about it.
Right.
Because if you're not passionate about it, you're not gonna stay committed to it.
Yeah. Facts.
Yes, definitely. So it took 2, 3, maybe 4 before I was like, okay, many times, and my oldest daughter and I, we actually founded the business together. Mm-hmm. So we're business partners, and many times we have sat in our office singing Travis Green's song, "You Made a Way."
Right.
When our backs were against the wall.
Right. I understand completely. I understand.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to you being a multimedia host, with radio and TV. How do you prepare for a show?
Yes, you know what? Most people think it's sort of weird that I really put a lot of time into it. Mm-hmm. But I never plan on, like, okay, say if I'm getting ready to interview you, mm-hmm. And you send me over your bio, your picture and everything. I will browse it when you send it to me, but I'm not gonna focus on it until mm-hmm. the day before. Mm-hmm. I'll focus on it the day before, so it's fresh in my mind.
Right.
I pick and choose a few things from it, and I just go from there. I never know what I'm going to say. Yes, I'm gonna have a few questions, but you just never know how it's gonna go. And I find that it's better for me, because a lot of times when we just plan what we're gonna say, it's never gonna work out that way.
Correct.
So that's just how I plan for the interview.
Okay. So what's your process on finding and booking guests for your show, and does that differ radio versus talk show? Mm-hmm.
Well, pretty much it's the same because everything is reclaiming my life.
Okay.
And I will interview, I'm not gonna say anybody, but mm-hmm. Anyone who has reclaiming my life testimony, that I feel would be relatable. And I feel, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Some people just want to be on something and they don't have anything to talk about.
Right.
No, that's a no. But if it's relatable, it's a good testimony and a good fit, that's just my process. And I really go about it by just advertising and promoting my flyers, and really and truly, I'm at a point now because it's been 3 years and mm-hmm. People are really familiar with the shows. People are reaching out to me to ask. So, then they send their information and then I go from there.
Right. Okay. So you are looking at the pitches yourself, or you have someone screening everything for you?
I look at them myself.
Okay. I do too. Mm-hmm. Make sure it's a good fit for my show.
Exactly.
So for someone that is brand new that wants to get into radio, what is your advice?
Wow, I would say, one, just make sure that, you're comfortable with speaking, and that if you're wanting to get into radio where you're interviewing people, be prepared. Like if a guest can't make it or a guest can't show up, always be prepared to say something on the spot. Sometimes you may not, have anything that day. Like, in your mind, you're just so focused on interviewing that guest.
Right.
Then you get ready for the interview and they can't make it. And you're sitting there like, oh Lord, what am I going to say? So you have to always be prepared to talk about something when you're on radio, even if you're talking about yourself, use that as a time to promote yourself and what you're doing and what you have going on. And a lot of times, if I have a guest, who don't show up, that's what I do. I just talk about the title of my show, Reclaiming My Life. And I go down different things. I may talk about, for those of you who, may be faced with financial hardships, for those of you who have been, and then I start talking on financial hardships. And before I know it, my time is up. The time that I was supposed to be interviewing that guest, because I just pick out different topics from my book, what those of you, who have been sexually violated, and I did talk about children. Nico Flowers, he's in Atlanta, I think on 102.7, Praise 102.7. He has a book out, My Hurt, Your Heal. And, it's talking about him as a child being molested. So, I like to focus on children because I was a child when I was molested. So by the time I start talking about these topics of reclaiming your life, regardless of what you're going through, the time is up. So I would just say, be prepared at all times. Make sure that, I'm on radio. What am I going to talk about at any given moment?
Now, what would be your advice to someone that wants to do television on pitching themselves?
On pitching themselves?
To get a television show.
Oh, to get a television show. I would just make sure that why do you want the show? That's number one. Why do you want the show? What do you want to talk about in your show? Do you feel like you can get guests to come on to talk about, what you have in mind? So these are some of the questions you should ask yourself. Would this be successful? And why do I feel it would be successful? How far do I think I can go with this show? If someone else was doing this, would I watch it?
So if someone came to, for instance, your station, would you recommend that they already have some examples or samples of them hosting so that people can kind of get an idea of what their show is going to be about, the type of topics and different things like that? Should they have a pitch deck ready saying, this is my audience, this is this, what do you advise?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Always be pitch ready, because number one, if you don't have it, then we won't know what you can do. Like for me, I already had a podcast before I started radio and TV. So, they had an opportunity to go to my podcast shows, whether they were on YouTube, Spotify, just to see, how I was talking, the topics I was talking about, if they were interested. So I would say definitely, if possible, start with the podcast. Then you can see, what kind of people you're drawing in. If the people love what you're talking about, I think that would be very helpful. So yes, definitely a good pitch.
What do you think is the difference between a podcast that has interviews compared to a talk show?
Only thing I was the viewers.
Gotcha.
The reach. Because I love doing my podcast, and I feel like, hey, it's out there. But you're on a major network, and you're reaching 100 million homes. Your podcast may not reach that. Now, not unless you Butter B Rocker. No. I didn't have that kind of reach, you know what I'm saying? You in, so many countries and all of this and that. When you get like Butter B Rocker, baby, you don't see that. But I'm talking about me.
How do you handle feedback, both positive and negative, from your audience?
I love it. I love constructive criticism. Because it helps me. You know, if no one is giving you constructive criticism, you can't improve.
Right.
You know, if everyone, you know, just you don't want to hear, oh, that's good, that's good. If they don't feel that it's really good, because then you would think that everything's good. But if you get that constructive criticism, you know, it can truly help you elevate. So yes, I appreciate the compliments and the constructive criticism to help me improve.
So what's one constructive criticism someone has said either about your radio or your talk show that you use to change something?
You know what? Unfortunately, well, I have one. And that's, I don't know if it's my country talking or what, but sometimes the way I say words. Yeah, sometimes the way I say words. And, you know, I've had a few words, and I know one of them was like, tune in. Tune. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes. So, and I appreciate that because I didn't realize that I was saying it like that. So then I try to make sure I'm saying it. You know, probably sometimes I still don't, but.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, I used to work with Les Brown for 8 months, literally side by side with him. And when I started my podcast, he used to literally charge me $10 every time I said hum.
Every time you said what?
Every time I said
Okay.
And I didn't even realize how much I was saying it. I still do say it, but I'm 10 times better, and I pause more to formulate my words and everything. But that's one of the biggest things that he used to say to me. And he would do that even when he does his classes and helps people, you know, discover who they are and how to tell their stories and everything. Oh, he's gonna charge you that $10. He said he loves hearing the sound of the Cash App.
Well, look, Butter, I probably would owe him like $1 million because no one has told me that, but I noticed it on my own. I always go back and listen after each interview at some point. And I'd be like, well, I don't really do it on the radio.
Right.
I don't do it when I'm interviewing people, but when I'm being interviewed, I do it a lot. And I'm like, Lord, I mean, could I have said, one more time? Could I? So yes, girl, I'm with you on that.
In your opinion, what makes a great interviewer?
A great interviewer, someone who is truly prepared, someone who is really pulling out what you have going on and touching on everything that you have going on. So your guest can leave feeling satisfied. Like she talked about my book, she talked about my son, she talked about, you know, they're happy. And that's what makes me happy. I think that's what makes a good interviewer. And when the interviewer allowed the guests to showcase themselves,
right?
Sometimes a guest may leave and be like, well, dang, you know, she did all the talking.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's one thing your listeners or viewers might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I'm going to say this because it is in my documentary, and a lot of people don't know this about me, that I'm a seer.
And what is that?
That means that I see things that may happen before it happens.
Oh, okay. So you see me blowing up all over the world then. Hallelujah.
Look, and to be honest with you, it's not like that. Like, you know, just to give you a couple of examples, it really started as a teenager. And I can remember dating when I was in high school, and I had my boyfriend over, and we were just sitting in our living room. And it just takes me to a place, and he'd be like, what's wrong with you? You know, and I'd be like, I just saw a snake. And he said, you just saw a snake. And I literally like just in my mind, you know, and as he was leaving my house that night, it was a snake on the doorstep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like that, we were together one day, and, you know, I never wore a seatbelt and still don't, but he stopped at the gas station. I put my seatbelt on. And he said, you putting your seatbelt on? And I was like, yes, I just saw an accident. And as we got 2 miles down the road, it was an accident.
Wow.
So things like that. I mean, you know, I could tell you a lot, but, you know, that's just to give you an example.
Okay. So We are towards the end of my show, but I want to know, what do you want to leave with our audience, how people can get in contact with you, and what's next for you?
Well, thank you so much again for having me. I truly, truly appreciate it. What's next? I'm traveling, y'all. Book me if you want to. Bring me so that I can show you my documentary, Reclaiming My Life, the Claudia Massey story. It talks about my own challenges and trauma that I experienced in life, how I overcame and reclaimed to be the beautiful woman I am today. And God did that. You can do so by contacting me via my website, contactclaudiamassey.com, my email, hello@claudiamassey.com. I'm on Facebook, which is Claudia Massey, and Instagram at Coach Claudia Massey. And definitely check out my YouTube page. I post all of my interviews, radio and television interviews there. And then I have some fun interviews of me and not interviews, but just some fun videos of me and my family, and just for you to see who I am as a person and not the interviewer on my YouTube page. And you can find that at Coach Claudia Massey.
Now, if someone wants to pitch to advertise on one of your platforms, they can contact you through your email and stuff that you just said, or is there a different website or something for that?
Yes, they can definitely contact me at my email. Again, that's hello@claudiamassey.com. But I am in the process, and within the next few days, I'm going to have a form, and it'll have a link, but I will post that on my Facebook page where they can go and fill out a form to be on the show. So thank you for that question. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure that you send me that form so I'll go back onto Facebook and onto YouTube, and I'll post the link in there so that, people can either contact you for possibly being a part of the show or contact you for advertisement purposes, because you got a strong reach. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love you.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you now, I don't see, as far as a seer, you blowing up. I know, baby, that you blowing up.
Okay, I take that. I receive it. Yes. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself talking to you. What do you want to leave with our audience? Give me some word of advice or something that you want to leave with us.
Yeah, so I just want to leave with your audience today. I know, we're talking about reclaiming my life, and y'all know, hey, that's my baby. And I just want to tell you all, because I know many of you are listening and you're going through something, because we're all going through something. As I talk about, I've reclaimed my life. That doesn't mean that I won't continue to be faced with challenges in my life and still have to overcome something. So to those of you who are faced with difficult situations and circumstances today, and you feel like there's no hope, I promise you, God has not forgotten about you. He loves you, and you will get through this, and you will reclaim your life. And I love you all.
That was an amazing ending. So with that, everybody, thank you so much, Claudia. We are out of here, and we're going to talk to you guys later. Claudia, you stay on. Well, peace out, y'all.